Greetings and welcome to the Halloween edition of the Sliders Review. And I'm here today to talk to you about I Know What You Did Last Summer, the 1997 movie. This movie I love to death. I don't love it as much as Scream, but I still love it. Basically, this movie is a copycat of Scream, which gave it mixed reviews at the box office. People said it's too similar to Scream. It's not so similar to Scream. Fans were kind of like mixed. One reason why that is because it was written by Kevin Williamson, the man who wrote the Scream movies. Now, like I've said before, because I've kind of went in hard on this show. The reason why I went in so hard on the show is because of this movie. I love this movie. And I was very shocked and surprised as to why the show was so dramatically different and why the writing was just so bad. Like the decision, I'm not even really going to go into the TV show because I've done that way too much. Watch those other videos. I pretty much reviewed every episode. There's 8 episodes. I've talked about the entire season overall and why I didn't like it, and then I fixed it. That show needed fixing badly. So anyways, the movie, it came out 1 year after Scream. After Scream happened, the copycats happened, and this is one movie I own on DVD. It stars, ironically, Jennifer Love Hewitt, who was a co-star of Neve Campbell from Party of Five, and Neve Campbell was in Scream. It stars Sarah Michelle Gellar, who I was a huge fan of, but never really seen much of her stuff. I only seen her, not in Buffy at that time. I saw her in All My Children, which was a soap opera. She was the first Kendall. And then she went on to like play Buffy. I was unable to watch Buffy at that time because I didn't have cable. So I was unable to watch the WB. Then once I did finally get cable, the last season of the WB version of Buffy was on, and then it went to UPN. And so I've been like a fan of Sarah Michelle Gellar like ever since, you know what I'm saying? It also stars Ryan Phillippe. I've seen some movies with him in it. It also stars Freddie Prinze Jr. I saw actually I haven't seen no other movies with him except for Scooby-Doo. But he went on to be like a huge teen drama star. Why? Because Scream reinvigorated the teen drama movie. He capitalized on that big time. Once he got older, then no more teen movies for him, and his career has kind of like fizzled out, sadly. So many of these stars that's in this movie careers have now fizzled out, and it sucks because they can actually act, you know. But that is the way of Hollywood. Hollywood is stupid. They rather cast like a reality star or an athlete in a role than getting an actual person who knows how to actually act. All because that actual person has aged and some of their movies have flopped. So they get kind of put in like Hollywood jail because of that. But I Know What You Did Last Summer is based off of a 1973 novel by the same name, by Louise Duncan. She has sadly passed away. Her book is completely different from that of the movie. The movie was written to be a slasher. They took the premise of a person getting hit and seeking revenge. And so they took that from the book, and only that. I will get into how the book is different. She was very upset that they turned her book into like a slasher. And so, like, for the most part, I guess the TV show is slightly similar to her book, but not really. So maybe she would have been happy with the TV show. Who knows, you know? But yes, the movie is about a hook-wielding killer and stuff. One thing that's interesting about the movie, also with the show, is that it's not so much slasher based. It's more drama and like character development and like detective work. And then the slasher just happens to come in and they do the slasher stuff. So some people feel this movie gets weighed down because it's way too much drama and not that much slasher. But if you remember, Scream had the killings in the beginning, then all throughout the middle movie, it was just like a lot of talking, and then there's a bunch of killing towards the end. This movie kind of took like a little bit of a reverse. It had no killings in the beginning except for the person who gets hit by the car, and that person's not even dead. Then the whole movie's nothing but a drama. Then all the killings happen towards the end of the movie. So for the most part, this is kind of like a drama, but it's still a slasher movie. The setting is great. It's a small town on the dock near like the bay and stuff. A bunch of like fishermen ships are there, and fishing ships, what we call them, and a bunch of like fishermen and stuff. It's has a grimy look to it. It has a dark, eerie look to it. Um, and it's just, I think this is like a very good slasher movie. Not as great as Scream, but it still is very good. And it's like I've watched it for so many like years and so many times, and I always make sure I try to watch it for like Halloween. I kind of missed this Halloween because I was like my first time doing like reviews around this time, and so like I was trying to do that. So this is why this review is kind of coming out. And so like so late in November. And so like yeah, I still haven't even watched like the movie, but I know so much from the movie that I don't have to like rewatch it and stuff. And so like because it's based all on memory from like years of watching this over and over and over and over again. It spawned like a sequel. Many people hate the sequel. The sequel had negative reviews. I actually enjoyed the sequel. The sequel was more of a slasher than it was a drama. It was a little hokey at times, some bad acting at times, and because it was badly miscast, I believe. But like, I still like it for the slasher element. In my opinion, if you just rewatch the second movie, it's not as bad as you remember. There's been a whole lot worse things out than that, you know. Then it came out with a third movie. Nobody, because of the second movie didn't do so well, it went straight to DVD. I will always know what you did last summer. It had like a cast nobody knew of. They were like brand new stars. This is what happens when a bunch of these newer slasher movies started to do badly, and then all of a sudden now they're getting just like regular people who are just starting off. And that's how you see a lot of these horror movies direct to DVD, and they're people you don't know. That movie did not do good whatsoever. They turned Ben Willis from a human into a demon. And it's just like every summer he goes on a killing spree. That's really dumb. But I still think the third movie is better than a TV show. And so this movie was directed by Jim Gillespie. I don't know how the world you say his name, but yeah, this movie it takes place in a small like town. And so they having like these kids, they just graduated from high school. And so it's four kids. It's Barry, it's Helen, it's Ray, and it's Julie. They're all dating one another. And so they're talking about what they're gonna do in their futures. They all want to do like some great stuff. Ray wants to be a professional football player. Julie wants to go to a really good college. Ray just wants to get out of town because he's poor and stuff. And Helen, she just like wants to be like an actress slash model and stuff. These kids, except for, well, they're not really rich, except for Barry. His parents are the only one who look like they got money. Everybody else is either lower class or middle class. After the party and drinking, they take like they just driving around. It is Ray who is driving Barry's car because Barry is too drunk. He ends up hitting somebody on the road. They freak out as expected. They all tell like what should they do with the body, and so they discuss it over and over, and then they finally decide they're gonna get rid of it. Well, at least Barry does. Everybody else doesn't want to go along with it, but Ray is kind of hinting towards, yeah, I'll go along with it. Reason Julie is really the only person who doesn't want to do it because she's very moral and everything. See, thing is, they all tell why they can't like go to prison and stuff. There's too much at stake. Julie's school, Helen's acting career, Barry's football deal. And Ray is just so poor, he will just rot in prison, you know? And so, like, they decide they're gonna get rid of the car. There's a person on the driving around. It's Max. It's a guy who went to their high school. He loves Julie. He's jealous of Ray. They had to make sure like he didn't see nothing, so they kind of like play it off and everything. Then when they go to dump him on the docks, they start to hesitate. Barry is like the angry one. He's like, you know, screw this. We made a pact. We're gonna get rid of this dude. The man is still alive. He grabs Helen's crown because she was in beauty pageants and she just won it that night. They dumped his body over. Ray is pissed. He jumps in the water to go after the crown because, you know, can't leave no evidence behind. When he grabs the crown, the dude's eyes open. He's still alive. Barry freaks out. He gets back on shore. He's pissed at everybody. And then he threatens Julie that if she ever tells, he'll like really hurt her. He grabs her by the neck. A year has now passed. The whole gang has now broken up, went their separate ways. Julie comes back from college. She doesn't want to be home. She gets a note talking about, I know what you did last summer. You got to remember, this is back when the internet still wasn't as huge as it was, but you can still do research on it. She's worried. She knows exactly what this means from the car hit and stuff. She goes looking for the old gang because some of them are still in town. She meets Ray by mistake. He is now, well, first she finds like Helen. And she thought Helen was going to be this big movie star in like New York. It turns out she is not. It did not work out. She had to come back home and work at her family shop. She's very sad because of that. So they end up meeting up with Barry. He's home from an injury from football and stuff. So his career didn't work out. He's still the angriest person in them all. Then they think, oh, it could be Max who sent this note. So they go to like the Fisher Dock place. And so they're looking for Max. They confront him. He says it's not him. Next thing you know, that's when they meet Ray. He has now become a fisherman. He said just like his father. Julie and him has now broken up. She doesn't want nothing to do with him. Next thing you know, Barry is the first one to get attacked by this killer. He's wearing a slicker. He has a hook on that he's holding. He's also wearing a mask for one time and one time only because we can't see his face because it's a close-up of underneath him. This was kind of weird because he no longer has it in the rest of the movie. So he attacks Barry by running him over with his car, stealing his jacket. When they go to the hospital to meet him, he tells them straight up, we're still not going to the police. Julie and Helen decide that they're going to solve this case. They're going to have to do it and do it now. They start doing some detective work. They start trying to figure out who the person that they ran over with the car. They think it's a man named Bobby Egan. They go and they meet his sister, Missy. Missy is a hick. She is a country bumpkin of a woman. She freaks them out because of her old country like way. She's very like backwards in the head, you know, like a very stereotypical and stuff. Julie and Helen, they have like a discussion about like, you know, how maybe like Helen's just trying to like be all like, it's not our fault. Maybe he wanted to get hit by the car. Her and Julie kind of have it out. Helen tells Julie she misses being her friend. This is the part that gets kind of weird. And then Helen tells her we used to be friends, and Julie's all like, oh, we was more than that. So that made people start thinking they're lesbians. Even the director on the commentary addressed it, and he don't understand why people think that. But the way it sounds, it feels that way, you know? When Helen goes back to like her home, she sleeps at night, wakes up in the morning. Somebody chopped off all her hair when she wakes up and wrote a message, I know what you did last summer, on like the mirror. This causes her and Barry to get back together because now she's so worried. The gang all talks about this. Barry thinks it's Ray. He punches Ray. Julie finds like Max's like dead body in her trunk of her car with a bunch of crabs, and then like with Ray's not Ray, but Barry's jacket on there. And then when she goes back to show them, the body's now gone. She does her infamous, what are you waiting for, spins around type thing. that got like if memes were around back then, oh, it would have got made into a huge meme online. So they're still trying to figure out who this killer is. Helen has to do her beauty pageant thing. She doesn't want to do that because she has to give the crown up to somebody else, and she's scared of this killer. Barry tries to protect her. Julie's still doing her detective work. The killer eventually ends up killing Barry at the beauty pageant. Helen can see everything. Nobody believes her as she's trying to tell them because the killer is very good at cleaning up the blood and the bodies and stuff. Julie goes back to see Missy. Missy tells her some more stuff about like her brother and Julie tells her, you know, we hit your brother and no, we're sorry. And she's all like, she just tells them stuff like that makes Julie like think. So Julie runs back. She goes and gets on her laptop. She looks it up. She realizes that the person they thought they killed was not the person they thought. It was never Missy's brother. It was a fisherman named Ben Willis, and Bobby Egan actually dated Ben's daughter. Ben's daughter ended up dying, so he took revenge on Bobby and killed him and stuff. Next thing you know, Helen's in the cop car heading back home, and she sees the killer. The killer always pops up in the weirdest way. This is one thing about the movie that's always been weird. He pops up at random places, and he walks so slow. And as people are running, he's able to catch up with them. I don't understand that. So, like, she runs back to her family's shop. She tells her sister. Her sister don't like her, don't believe her. He ends up killing the sister. He ends up chasing Helen all through the shop. She makes it out of there. She's on the outside. She sees a parade. She's trying to, like, sitting on the people. But then the killer pops up out of nowhere. How does he do that? He kills her and everything. Now it's 2 down and 2 to go. Julie looks for Ray at like the shipping yard and stuff, and she tells him that, like, you know, the killer's Ben Willis and all this other stuff. Ben Willis is a fisherman. Ray knows him. He's kind of weirded out by this, but he don't say nothing. So she thinks Ray at some point might be the killer because of a man by the name of Billy Blue goes to see Missy, and so that's the name of Ray's boat. So she thinks he's the killer. She runs. She meets Ben Willis. She don't know who Ben Willis is at this time. Then she finds out. It's a huge chase climactic scene. Ray is trying to fight Ben. Julie's running around seeing dead bodies. They push him out the way, and then next thing you know, boom, Ben's hand gets chopped off, but they had the hook in there. The cops can't find the body. They still won't tell what happened last summer and why this dude's after them. Then we get a weird scene. Julie's at her college. She's in the shower. There's a message. I still know what you did last summer. Somebody busts through like the window of the shower, and Julie screams. This turned out to be a dream sequence for the next movie. I have to say, even though there's some wonkiness in this movie, it's still a very good movie. It keeps you engaged, and that's the main thing. The show tries to keep people engaged, but it's just so weird and stuff. And the show just makes no sense. Like, okay, I'll just give you one quick thing that really two things don't make no sense. There's a girl named Raleigh. She's being chased by the killer. The killer hits her head on with a giant truck, speeding. She's not dead. She's not crippled. She's able to get up and run. Then the killer stabs her with a machete through the chest. Her heart is impaled. She is still alive. He chops off her arm. We see no blood. She should have bled out. She's still alive. She crawled and walked her way back home. It took an entire day. And then she passes out from finally lack of blood. Then she gets mummified in honey. Yes, honey. Then, on top of all that, she gets put in the freezer by the cops for 3 weeks, and then she wakes up. How is she still alive? This is why the show is so dumb. Now let's get into some differences with the book. Another thing that's dumb with the show is that, so it's like the final girl, Allison, the killer, Margot, stabs her in the stomach and confesses that why she killed all their friends and how she's like a lover scorned and all this other crap. And so Allison decides to lie to the cops and say Dylan did it, but Dylan's the one trying to save everybody. And so like then Allison goes and lives the rest of her life off with the killer. After the killer killed all her friends and stabbed her in the stomach. What the world kind of mess is that? The book was written in 1973. It stars the same cast from the movie. So it's Barry, it's Helen, it's Ray, it's Julie. They're driving. They hit a boy on a bike. What's the boy's name? David. So they hit David like on the bike. And so like Ray, he calls in the ambulance so they can take the body, and then they hightail it after that. A year has passed, and they start getting notes about like I know what you did last summer. The group has now broken up. Julie is no longer dating Ray; she's dating a guy named Bud. Something happens. Barry, I think, gets like attacked. No, Barry gets like I think Ray or Billy, something like that. Somebody took a picture of like the bike and everything, and they sent it to like Ray or like Barry or something like that. And say like, oh, they took Barry and they're talking about like, I'm gonna send this to the cops, so I want you to meet me somewhere and like I guess like give me money. So Barry meets him there and gets like stabbed by the dude. And so next thing you know, Helen meets this person named Collie or something like that. And Collie turns out to be like the killer. He chases her and all this other crap. Then it's revealed that Collie is actually the younger brother of David and stuff. Next thing you know, Julie boyfriend Bud confesses that his brother David named him Bud because he had a hard time saying his real name that has the word Collie something in it. Collie is the killer. Collie and Bud are the same person. And so that's basically what happens like in like the book and everything. Oh, also Julie's mom has like a premonition. Don't ask me why. Can't ask the author why, because she has sadly passed away. So yeah, the book is very much different, and they're younger too. The book is very much different than the movie. The movie is just straight up slasher movie, and that's what pissed like the author off. Personally, I would like to see an adaptation straight up from the actual book. I know one thing I criticize about the TV show so much is that it wasn't like the movie. And because that's what it was supposed to be based off of. It wasn't supposed to be based off the book. So that's why I was so like adamant and pissed. However, if Amazon would have adapted the book straight forward on, I would have been fine with that. The source material, because the book is still interesting and stuff. And it would have made for a whole lot better than what the actual TV show was about. Now, wasn't that spooky? Alright, well, I shall talk to y'all later. Bye.